Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, another ride of Living on Music. I'm Steve Hauk, and boy, oh boy, am I hugely excited to have this amazing lady back on Living on Music. Her first appearance, Steph, was in April 2020, right as things were unraveling. I kept a distant eye on her, though, and her world. Many of you who will know her, who have grown in the Living on Music Nation since Steph was on, has grown pretty up. And she is the founder, exceptional lead guitarist for the exceptional Lez Zeppelin tribute experience, Lez Zeppelin. She's got a lot of other things going on we're going to chat about. Boy, am I happy to see her again. Living on Music Nation, please welcome Steph Paynes. Steph, welcome back, my dear.
Steve, it's always wonderful to see you.
Oh.
And I'm very excited to be back, since we have such a history of chatting and stories. And
we totally do. And you were, again, April 2020 stuff was when things started to go south. And we talked a little bit openly about it, but it was still kind of new. You were off without the band at the beginning and all that. Before we get into some of these incredible things that you have done since things have begun to come back out, including the Australian tour, talk a little bit about how you've done since I saw you. You've gotten through it. It seems you've survived well, Steph.
Yeah, well, survived. It was, in retrospect, I think what's going to happen is people are going to sort of reflect on this sort of crisis and the shock they were in, and it was very intense, and being in the middle of it was a whole sort of what's the word, everyone was in hyperdrive, in many ways, and anxiety and all this stuff, right. And now we're kind of reflecting back, even though it's still here a bit, but I think we all feel like we're now on the other side of it, because we're starting to work again, so that's that's a big sea change from where we were. And
right.
And yeah, I think a lot of people switched things up and had their sort of moments of what existential truth and right. As we discussed, I think probably last time. And yeah, I'm sitting here in the Berkshires, which is southwestern Massachusetts.
Beautiful up there.
Place that's very dear to my heart, because my parents had a house here for nearly 30 years, and they sold the house in 2008. And then in the midst of all of this craziness, I sort of did a readjustment of my living situation, right, and shifted things a lot, and I ended up with this cute farmhouse,
right,
where I'm it's sort of, I guess, my happy place, whatever that means.
Right. And you were in New York, I think when we talked last time, you were living down in, was it Long Island?
Yeah, no? I was staying with a friend out in Kings Point in Long Island, in Great Neck, where I grew up, actually. Wow. And my mother still lives. Wow. So I'm there a lot too. And I still have an apartment in Manhattan.
Right.
So it's not like I'm here all the time, but it's nice. It's nice to have this as a landing spot. And part of it was that, none of us knew where we were going to end up.
I bet.
And I realized, where I need to sort of establish something so that I have a place to live. So it's good. It's all good. We've sort of, reestablished stuff and created new stuff, and it's very nice. Now,
I bet.
In retrospect.
No, I bet it is. And you say landing place, and boy, did you have to land a couple of weeks ago. You went with Marlene.
It seemed like we never land, but with the way those flights were, just endless flying around the globe.
I bet. And it was Marlene and Joan, and Lisa stayed back in the States for this particular run. Yeah. And you brought on Somebody, how did you find a drummer for that region that you were playing, which I guess was kind of like a southeastern Australia or something as you're looking at it?
Yeah,
Right.
it was like the East Coast. The
Yeah.
first time we were there, we did a bit more of we went up to Cairn and we went up to a few more places in between. But this was sort of an Eastern run. I mean, you have to understand this tour was canceled 3 times.
Wow.
It was rescheduled 3 times. I mean, and the first 2 times were because of the COVID thing where, you know, it wasn't easy to get in and it looked, everything was unsure. So the promoter kept pushing it. And then there were floods.
Really?
There were floods in Sydney. We were supposed to go in April or March or April. And Sydney was deluged and a bunch of the venues we were supposed to play were closed.
Really?
Yeah. So that didn't make sense. So it was pushed ahead even more.
Oh my God.
We ended up doing 7 shows.
Right.
And we found this drummer. So Lisa is okay.
Good.
Lisa is still in Lez Zeppelin. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. But Lisa has some physical issues that she's dealing with now. And just making that trip, it was just too much.
Understand. Yeah.
I banished her from the trip. Because I just felt like for her own, you know, she probably would have soldiered forward, but there was no way.
Right.
She just has, you know, she has got it waiting for some hip surgery, and you know, it's a very common thing, but it makes her mobility difficult. She can still play, but her mobility is not good. So we ended up finding through friends, and Lisa helped because she was so concerned. It was very sweet. She's like, my girls are going and we got to get somebody good, you know. And she, last minute, a couple of her friends, their friends came up with this woman named Allie Foster, who we took a look at online, and she you know, she's a jazz drummer and stuff, and she had that feel, and she was available, and she was totally into it.
Wow.
Her dad raised her on Zeppelin, and so it was very it was very important for her and very meaningful for her to
so she had a Zeppelin connection from her father. Well, doesn't that make it all the more special? Absolutely.
Because her father passed a couple of years ago.
Well,
he was a drummer.
Wow. Well, you know, Lisa's is my not trying to, you know, divide people in Lez Zeppelin, but my partner Suzanne adores Lisa so much. When we went to the last gig, when we saw you guys at the State Theater, she fell for her totally, and so her talent is ever present and will be back. But what a thing to do to get Allie to do these, you know, whirlwind 7 gigs. Was she from that region?
Yeah, she grew up outside of Sydney on a farm, and then she had just moved to Melbourne, where we played as well. So, but she had to fly around to meet us, and in between she would go home.
Right.
But whoops. Sorry.
That's fine. No worries.
It's now silenced.
It's the virtual world.
Yeah. So, and she really worked, man. She had about a week or so to totally prepare, and she was just completely immersed in those final exams. And when we got there, we had 1 rehearsal with her. We got her spent 1 day rehearsing, and she really had it down. And you know, she's the kind of drummer where she wrote out charts and stuff like that. So she really did her homework. It was really nice, and she's a really nice person too. So it was a bonus.
Well, what a real wonderful thing to do when you can't have your longtime best drummer, to have somebody like that. What was it? So have you played Australia before?
Yes, once before.
That's what I thought.
2019.
That's right. And so was there any difference now? I know 1 gig was canceled in this run. Was that because of a flood or?
No, that was kind of a last minute add-on.
Okay.
And I think they just decided it was like a week or 2 before we even got there.
Right.
You know, you can't promote a show like that, really.
No, you can't. The picture.
I don't know. I felt we could have maybe done it, but the promoter decided to not
they made they made the shows. The pictures that have been posted from it by you and Marlene and John, I mean everybody about from you also the people that help you market yourselves.
Mostly Joan and Marlene.
Mostly Joan and Marlene.
They are the ones. I am terrible at this, and they have happily taken up the mantle, and they're fantastic.
Well, that's sweet. And again, the pictures showed what again looks like the power, the intensity, and the real just immersing feeling that you guys give to people who come see you in those pictures. Was Australia on this trip worth the flying completely around the world practically? And I was talking to Marlene, messaging with her a little bit as she was traveling, and she's like, I just got here, and oh my God, I mean, that's jet lag. So how did you guys get through that and bounce right in? Is it fairly easy for some of you and different for others?
Well, it was sort of, in a way, half tour, half sort of vacation.
Nice.
Because we were there a long time. And we had gigs that were interspersed mostly on the weekends. So we sort of had some downtime during the week to do a little exploring, which was actually nice.
That's wonderful to be able to combine that and not just all be focused on getting into vehicles and going and rehearsing and playing and
and
I know. Everything.
Exactly. So it would be very intense, and then a break, and then more intense. I think the beginning and the end were really. It's hard traveling going. It's really far. It's just
I bet.
Yeah. And adjusting to the time, and it went very well. I mean, all things considered. Actually, Marlene and Joan did get sick toward the end, and they were suffering a little.
Wow.
Just colds and headaches.
Sure.
Sneezing and like that. So they were struggling a bit, and they were real troopers. I somehow, I don't know, I'm like an armadillo or something. I don't know.
No, that's fantastic, though.
I seem to be able to just traipse around, and I don't know.
No.
I was luckier.
I love it, and the response had to be. It seemed by what was also handed down on photos and things like that. It seems like the response was wonderful for you guys.
It was at all the shows. We played many of the same venues. They were all much more well attended.
Like this one.
I got one.
Yeah, the bride.
You went all the way there to do this interview.
I did. I can't believe it. It took a long. I'm very tired, and I have that jet lag. But I was like, if I could be in the bar where you played, then at least I'm close to seeing you guys. If I can't see you in person again, I mean, I got to see you guys in person soon. It's been way too long.
It has been too long.
But it sounds like it was a wonderful
church coming up.
Well, now is it State Theater? And do you know the date off the top of your head?
Oh God.
Well, we'll let people know.
We'll get it. Yeah, I think it's November. I want to say, if you can give me a second.
Oh, I can.
This is an important.
We're getting Steph Paynes to check her own concert date at the State Theater.
The 19th.
November 19th. Yeah. Well, there's going to be somebody's going to have to tie me down or make me do nothing else, because I want to see you guys and say hello. That would be fabulous. You have a wonderful little run of gigs coming up. How about this? All right, September 16th, the Wall Street Theater in Norwalk, Connecticut, where I was born. So I would really like it if you would dedicate the entire show. No, but I was born in Norwalk in 1961 and lived in Wilton, which is right next to it. And and for them to have a venue that would have you guys play, and I know they have a unbelievable roster of people that come through, not only Norwalk now, but Ridgefield, where when we were younger, it was Madison Square Garden to see Zeppelin or something. There wasn't as many of that. You're playing Sony Hall in New York City, and you're doing the Earl's Court show.
Yes, I somehow agreed to that. I don't know why. Well, we have a wonderful promoter in New York, CEG, and we've worked with them a long time, and they're fantastic guys. I mean, they're always coming up with ideas. They're totally into it, and they throw these at me like, let's do this, and I'm like, okay. And then I look at it and I'm like,
What are the
25-minute Dazed and Confused.
Right. I was just about to say, what are the bigger challenges for a show like that? Because you and I talked about that with Physical Graffiti when you were doing that, and the different challenges from different moments of Zeppelin. And so Earl's Court, what, a 25-minute Dazed and Confused, and you're gonna.
It's hailed as one of their greatest concerts.
It is. I've heard of it
you
before.
just keep raising the bar, until it's you have a nervous breakdown, and then
Right.
The end of the band.
Oh, that's classic. And the Magic Bag in Detroit on November 5th.
We love the Magic Bag. It's always fun. Detroit rocks, man. Detroit's such a great audience. And we have so many crazy stories from there that we just spend, another 10 hours in the van.
Oh God.
Almost like Australia, laughing about the previous stories. But we have a nice crowd that's steadfast. So we see a lot of the same people there too.
Oh, I bet Detroit is a wonderful musical place. Couple things we wanted to hit on. You talked a little bit, you teased a little bit about a new record. You're talking about being commissioned. You'll explain it in a second. You also said crazy and inspired by Thick as a Brick a little bit, which interestingly enough, March 72, it was the Jethro Tull record. It was a continuous piece of music with
yes, it was.
So tell me a little bit about how this came to be and who's going to be on it.
Okay, so now that we're talking about it, of course, I have to do it. Now, this is
true.
The girls, nobody knows about this. Few people know about it, but it's basically so what happened is we played this fantastic gig a little while ago at the Westport Library.
Oh my God.
Your stomping ground as well.
Amazing.
Have you ever been to that library, quote unquote?
I don't think I've been to anywhere that could be considered as a venue of sorts, even at a library like that. I might have been it was a regular library with like a place to play.
It may have been. I don't know, because this is the first time I've been there, but it probably not, because it's a beautiful new complex. So, I mean, they've got lots of money in that town. I guess someone gave the money, and they have an amphitheater out the back, and they have built as part of the library a multimedia recording studio,
right?
A regular recording studio. I mean, they have all of these facilities to basically serve the town, and the kids who want to, learn how to, film and record and do multimedia artwork and all sorts of things. It's really amazing.
Right.
So anyway, they were having a 3-day sort of mini South by Southwest event.
Oh, God.
That was partially curated by, Chris France and Tina Weymouth live in the area, and they were very involved in all that. They're buddies of ours. But so we ended up opening up this sort of weekend with a concert.
Oh.
And it was so much fun, and they were so great. And they're so into projects. So they approached me after this show and asked if we would do something with them in there, because they're basically putting out recordings. They even have a little record label. And so, of course, I said yes, because I just thought it would really be fun.
Right.
And so basically, we've been talking about ideas for projects, and it started out with doing some Zeppelin, and we probably will, but maybe we will do an EP, we'll do a single. We thought it might be fun to do a 45.
Sure.
Double-sided 45 of a couple Zeppelin tracks.
Right.
But then I sort of got into this idea with them of doing something original, which of course we've been threatening for 100 years. And we've done the little bits and pieces of it along the way. We had original songs on the first album, and I did something for a guitar record, and we've done bits and pieces of things, but nothing really like an album's worth.
Right.
So it's again, like, that my dream was to play Physical Graffiti in its entirety, and it eventually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my dream has also been, because I'm just of that, that's my favorite era of music. Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull is one of my favorite albums. Now, you either love it or you hate it, probably.
Right, I love it.
It's this continuous piece of music. It's kind of a piss take on progressive rock while being somewhat progressive.
Right.
I think it's a masterpiece. It's an absolute masterpiece, in my opinion. But
Yes.
it was kind of done in this way, a little on the fly. If you read about it, Ian Anderson was like writing bits of music and then bringing it to the band, and they were like constructing it. And it was all based around this crazy poem, which was supposedly written by Gerald Bostock, who was a little kid prodigy from, St. Cleve. It's all fictional.
God.
And it's like Monty Python meets,
Yes.
prog rock or something.
Right. Exactly.
I'm a Monty Python fan too.
Right.
But so
time.
my dream has always been to do something like that.
Oh.
Now it's ridiculous, and it's like this. I don't even know if it's possible. I do have a poem, a long, crazy piece of writing that we can work with, and I do have lots of bits of music that are already written. I mean, tons of it. So I think it just needs to be assembled. And the fun part is that I totally want to do an accompanying, if it's not a newspaper, some sort of booklet or some sort of crazy writing thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
To accompany it. Now, of course, being a library, they loved this. They thought this was the greatest thing.
Oh my God.
Ever. Because think of the multimedia possibilities for it.
Oh, mega. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you can have spoken word, you can have podcasts, you can have a written piece of, you can create a book, you can do, it's just sort of an endless possibility. And if you're a library with all these facilities, their heads were exploding. So they want to do it. So this is, again, like I'm saying, there are very few people I've even talked to about it.
Wow. Exciting.
But the one, and even the girls, and who I'm not sure how it's going to play out.
Right.
I mean, it may be that, we have the band in general, and there may be some guest people on it for this or that. I think it's sort of it remains to be seen. It's kind of an open,
sure,
working.
Yeah. And it's, if you're going to do this, are you going to return to Westport to work with these people?
Oh, absolutely. We would do it there.
Come on.
That's too. They want to host the whole thing, and we're probably will look for some, financing, people who want to get involved, and in some way I've yet to go down that, but they have some ideas on that, and so we probably will bring in some of our fans to take part in some way. And
that's absolutely wonderful. It'd be wonderful to anywhere, let alone Westport, which is again where I walked around as a little boy. It's just, that's my whole world. But I can't wait to hear some more about that as you go along, because now that you've brought it out into the world a little bit.
I have to do it now.
I know. Way to go.
Make me do it. No, I'm terrible without deadlines, but because I'm a writer and I need deadlines. That's another project, but
it sounds wonderful. You were working on a book.
Yeah, that's another thing I need to, but I am working on it. That's another long term. I need to do this. And
that is a biography-ish thing, or
it's sort of a memoir, because basically
good
things that happen in Lez Zeppelin needs to be documented in some way. Before I forget everything, I need to tell the story, and some of the crazy stories you would not even believe. It's fiction like fiction. You can't make this stuff up. I am starting to write it down, and I'm doing it in a kind of unconventional way. Like it's a memoir, but it's a little bit, it's a creative memoir. Let's just put it that way.
Sure. What? I've been wondering about that for a while, and I don't know if we talked about it the first time, because I don't know if you were thinking of going forward with it, but I'll probably have for a long time. People are saying, I want to kind of put this down and show what we've done. And you know what, Steph, the fact that I've seen you guys, and again, having Marlene on a couple of times, I'd love to have Joan and Lisa on too, just to talk about their life with you guys and also their own musical worlds. But to be able to have followed you so closely since we first interviewed 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago or more, and to see the level of bass crowd, the level of musicianship you guys have continued to raise, must feel wonderful for the woman who began this whole ride, years ago.
It's pretty surreal, Steve. It's because I've been pouring back through the beginning of the band in order to, work on this book. It's amazing because so much has happened, but the beginning of the group, which is nearly 18 years ago,
right?
18 years ago, it was a whole other thing. It was, this has had so many, like a cat, so many lives and rebirths and sort of, kind of evolutions, that it's really, I was listening to a recording recently of the first group that we did live.
Oh.
And I forgot what we even sounded like then, really, in a way.
Right.
I just have memories. I think it sounded like this, and I hadn't bothered to listen to it. I was shocked. I was actually shocked.
Wow.
Like, was that? Wait a minute. Was that really the band? First of all, it was a lot better than I remembered it, to be honest, not because you get so caught up in what's happening now. Each evolution of the band had its amazing elements and incredible energy, and each one was different in its own way. And that first incarnation of Lez Zeppelin was just amazing. And what I noticed was we were so newly studied, because we were starting this, and we had just learned the music and were rehearsing like mad. And I wouldn't let the band out for 6 months until we rehearsed.
Wow, good.
We didn't do a gig until 6 months of rehearsal. Wow. Because it was so intense and it had to be good. Yeah. Otherwise, women, we would be dismissed.
Right.
It was doubly hard. Right. So we had to be better than everybody else.
Right.
Because everyone was going to be skeptical. Well, so we were so newly, like you're studying for your exams. So we were up on all the material, and I noticed how accurate, it's like I was actually playing all of Jimmy's parts, pretty much note for note, which now I'm much more fluid with, because, I know it so well in a way, and yet I've sort of incorporated my own.
Right. Absolutely.
So that it's become a little bit of a mixture.
Sure.
Of us, whereas back then it was much more, we played the song exactly as it was.
Right.
And it was really interesting to hear. It was great, but it was sort of shocking. I was like, oh yeah, there was that part. I forgot about that part.
Oh my God. Well,
that riff was in there. Oh yeah. It was great. It was really fun.
Did you think 18 years you'd be in Australia playing in New York City, doing top-notch things for your genre of the world? Come on.
It's beyond. It's a little insane, Steve. It's a little crazy. It really is trippy. Not that you ever took LSD or anything like that.
Yeah, no, not me. College in the 70s. No, never.
I was wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right. But yeah, it really is a strange thing.
Right.
I guess this, part of it is just the sheer stubbornness and refusal to stop on my part. But I don't know. It really has been an adventure. And there was no way I could have foreseen this level of nuttiness going forward.
Well, and the legacy of Led Zeppelin, it continues to surge, which is just wonderful. I don't know if you would see it on social media. I had Deborah Bonham on about 2 months ago. We talked for an hour and a half about her world, and a lot of it about her life with her older brother, John. Yeah. And I mentioned off camera to her, I said, have you ever heard of Led Zeppelin? She's like, yes, I have. I know them. And I'm like, wait, what? And I said, well, don't know them, go them, because there's something different and wonderful about them. And that was really fun. She had some wonderful things to say, by the way, about her brother, who has a reputation for really having a tough ride for the last few years of his life, but influenced her in music and things like that. So I was thinking of you guys the whole time I'm talking to John Bonham's sister, I'm thinking of Lez Zeppelin. So see,
It's
you
amazing.
guys, but see, that's because you guys have attached to people like me who grew up with that music was part of our souls. It was the first real hard rock band that I fell in love with, and then saw them when I was 16. The other thing, Steph, and you see this all the time, you can't get away from it, is the picture that popped up again of Jimmy Page and you hugging. And he says they played the Led Zeppelin music with the extraordinary sensuality, energy, and passion that highlighted their superb musicianship. Now, you have heard that countless times, so have your fans, but I can't stop looking at it and saying it. That still has to affect you, that the guy who really is the center of your Zeppelin world, but you also go off and play some of your own stuff now, which I totally love that. But that still has to feel pretty amazing to have gotten that kind of endorsement from a guy like Jimmy Page.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's put it this way. I didn't start the band in order to get that endorsement.
No.
I mean, that was not what was on my mind.
Right.
I just love the music, but I think that's probably, I think that's sort of what he saw in it. And thankfully he loved it. And, of course, the fact that he recognized it just was, made it, what's the word I want? Not justified, but
Right.
validated.
Yeah.
Validated,
Right.
that's the word.
Yeah.
The sort of spirit of it that I had intended,
Right.
that, and it's not even intended, that's the wrong word. It's the spirit that was naturally in it.
Yeah.
Which is just pure love of this music and an understanding, I guess, that what made Led Zeppelin so great was beyond their unbelievable musicianship.
Right.
There was something beyond that, and that to go for that, to capture that, to try to get that essence, is, I mean, it's near impossible. But I think part of what has to happen is that you have to understand what it was
Right.
about them.
Right.
And you have to have, I guess, the sensibility and the focus and the wherewithal. You have to be able to tap into that.
Yes.
And I think that's a rare thing for musicians.
Right.
That's what makes the best musicians.
Right.
To be honest, it's not just playing all the notes. There are plenty of people out there who can play the riffs better than I can. I mean, I'm just going to say, there are. They play them more accurately. I mean, when I say better, I mean, yes, there's more accurate. Yes, that's exactly what he played. I may have missed a note or whatever it is. But I think that, too often they're missing the point of it,
Yes.
And the point is something different. And I think that's what Jimmy meant.
Totally
what
he meant.
He liked, because if we had just gone up there and played it perfectly without that other incredible
Element.
Leaving it all on the stage and just like being completely, possessed by the music. It's really what it is.
Right.
It's a magical spell. It is. I know it sounds corny and stupid and she's on it, but it is you're under a spell, and you're very powerful when you're under that spell in imparting that to people. And it's, you got to respect that. It's dangerous even, but I think that is what he was sort of stunned by, because he wasn't expecting maybe anyone else to have it.
Right. Now it's high.
That's what we had, and oh my God, they get, they're doing this. I think he was just, like I said, I think I may have told you this, after the show, he hung around for hours. And he and I were the last to leave the venue.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
And we're standing in the middle of the empty room, and he turns to me, goes, it was so sexual.
Oh.
And I just looked at, I was tongue-tied to begin with, even though I'd met him a few times. And I was just, well, yeah. I was like he didn't even, him seeing it was just so weird.
Wow.
Because I think that he didn't even know how, he knows that Zeppelin was super sexy, but the sexuality of the performance took him by surprise. He was like,
yeah.
wow, this is really, I was like, well, yeah, that's what you did.
Oh my
It
God.
was so interesting. It was so interesting because, as much as you think you know what you're doing, you can't really see what it's like from the audience. I don't really know what you've experienced fully. I can only know what I think from what
Yes.
you tell me.
Right.
My view on the stage, what's happening.
Right.
But the impact on other people, and it's different for everybody, is like, it's so interesting to hear because I'll never get that. And watching us on video, I'll never get that because I'm too involved.
Right.
It's not, I'm picking it apart. I'm not just experiencing it.
Well, that's what's beautiful about what he said, and that's what I think I wrote about you the first time I interviewed you for living on music. It was before the pandemic, and just when I did an article, it was all about this different feeling, and it wasn't. It's wonderful that you're all beautiful, sweet, sexy women, and you are, but that's not what we're talking about necessarily. We're talking about the environment you've created with this band, the ability to bring the songs to light, but also to embellish, and that's what you're doing. The critiques and reviews and posts from fans that are continuing to this day continue to say that people are just absolutely thrilled with what you're doing. So that obviously too has to be something that makes you go, yeah, I think we're still going strong.
Yeah, no, it was nice. And in Australia, it was the same. They were great crowds, and they loved it. They were getting it, and so it's great. It's great to have that continue on and to affect people, and people really get into it, and they love it, and it does something for them, and that's the most important thing, really, to bring that to people and to have them be so happy, or have them make that trip down memory lane or whatever it is to touch something in them that they maybe forgot about.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. And as a 45-year fan of Led Zeppelin, I enjoy seeing you more than any other band that ever does this kind of music. And also, I swear, you bring some of the joy you bring some of the joy that they gave me right into our hearts, and you still do. And I love the fact that you're still having some fun doing your own thing on stage, and also might be doing this album. So I'm going to be on you to be able to tell me about how that's going. But Steph Paynes, congratulations on what's going on with you. You made it through the last 2.5 years, which is one thing we can all say. I want to, keep in touch with you and let me know what's going on with not only Lez Zeppelin, but you and things like that. But it's so good. Thank you for being on Living on Music again.
Anytime, Steve. And as soon as we have something to share with these other crazy secret works, I will let you know.
Okay. I love the thought that you're doing that. And
first to know, since you always are.
and I'll raise a glass on 9/16 when you're in my birthplace, and hopefully in November I can come and see you guys and give you a hug in person.
I know.
It would be wonderful. But we'll be in touch soon. Thanks so much.
Take care. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.